Hey everyone, so this video is going to be a little different. It's going to talk about mostly my weight loss journey and how I lost 140 pounds in a year and a half. So, give you a little bit of background information. When I was younger, I used to be the fat kid who always stayed in their room, played video games, and didn't like to really interact with people, and used food instead as comfort. And so I decided to grow a very unhealthy relationship with food early on growing up, and it honestly just kept going until probably up until I was like 16. I realized I had a really big problem on my hands indeed. So I decided I didn't really even begin to like take charge of it until I was probably 18, because I had just I avoided pictures, I avoided everything, and I basically just didn't want to be seen because of how enormous I was and how huge I was, and I just didn't feel comfortable doing so. So I hid away for a long time because of it, and I was ashamed because when I was growing up, I had a pretty good childhood. Elementary school was okay. Middle school, I feel like, was the thing that made it worse. Middle school was where everything that was okay, it escalated into so middle school starts, and I used to live in Georgia, and there was a lot of racism going around. I was the only white kid in an all mostly black school, and it wasn't a very good dynamic. I believe there might have been maybe one or two white kids per grade, actually, and the rest were just black kids, and then there was a couple Latino kids as well. But it was very majority based, which anytime you have a race that's dominant over one over the other by a large scale, it's definitely it's not a pleasant environment for anyone, because a lot of bad things can happen, and that's what happened. There was a lot of fighting with me. I got suspended a lot. I isolated myself a lot more, eating lunch in the counselor's office, because I felt like I was embarrassed, and that they were going to just torment me until there was nothing left. And that is what happened. And in 8th grade, I attempted suicide, and I failed, but I still had tried, because I realized there was nothing better else, and I thought that everything was going to be worse, and nothing was ever going to get fixed, and I was just a worthless cause. So then I get to high school. It gets a little bit better because I moved out of that district into another district, a more smaller district where not a lot of people knew who I was. And so, but it was still the same town, and the way that they had it set up was that they had some of the kids go to the majority of the public school at one side of town, and then this school was kind of like a selected school where you had to apply to get in, and you had to choose a career path and follow that. And there was no sports. There was clubs, but there wasn't. There was something missing from the high school environment that I thought I would used to. But I mean, in retrospect, the teasing and bullying was decreased a lot going to this school. So I definitely feel like it was a good decision to move from one to the other, because this school was a lot better for me, and the other school, if I had gone there, the same kids from middle school would have been the high school, and it would have just been a repetitive cycle, and I couldn't do it, so I decided to switch. And so with that being said, going to that high school, the weight still came on, though it crept on very quickly. And then I think if we fast forward a little bit, by the time I was 18, I just graduated and I've gone on a cruise with family, and I was actually banned from like some of the that we were going on. And it was just like they said there was a weight limit. They put me on a scale right in front of everyone, which was honestly just, it was embarrassing. But I got on the scale and I tipped like 350, so I was 100 pounds over the weight limit, and I was very embarrassed. And like from that day forward was the day that everything had changed. I looked at myself in the mirror and I was just like, how could I have let myself get to this point? Why did I have to let myself get to this point? And so I decided that from that day forward I was going to start working out. So I started walking 10-15 minutes a day on a treadmill because that was the only thing that I could do. And from there I was able to increase that to about, I think I started like 10 minutes on the treadmill, so I increased it to like 15 minutes, and then 20 minutes, and then 30 minutes, and then increasing the speed from like 2 to like 2.5 to 2.8 to 3. Just baby steps. And just working my way up, I was able to go from walking 10 minutes a day a couple times a week to working out 2 hours a day 5 to 6 times a week. And then I dialed down my nutrition a lot. I started eating healthier, and I cut out a lot of processed food, fast food, started drinking more water, just really trying to make good choices overall. Because I was like, I had a plan, I was dedicated, I just started community college, and I knew that I wanted to lose all this weight before I went off to university, and I was able to accomplish that goal and lose all the weight before I went to university, which was really nice. It definitely was a really good goal to accomplish, and I definitely, I was so motivated and so determined that when I made that goal, it was the best feeling ever. Euphoria at the best. But yeah, I lost over 140, 150 pounds, somewhere around there. And by the time I went to university, so now we're in 2016. After I went to the university, I was at like 190 when I went to Radford. And then by the time that I had finished my first year at Radford, I had lost another 20 pounds because I wasn't eating, because I didn't want to go to the dining hall and eat in front of everyone, and I didn't feel comfortable. I felt isolated again when I was at Radford, and because I had transferred there, so I was a junior, transfer again from community college. And this is what they don't tell you when you transfer into a university. They don't tell you the struggles that you're going to have of not fitting in and making friends, because a lot of these people, they come in as freshmen and they start from freshman to senior. And when you come in halfway, yes, you can still get all the benefits that they can academic wise, but on a social scale, it's a lot harder to connect with people and socialize. You have to really integrate yourself into the university social thing and take charge of it, because if not, you're not going to meet people, you're not going to be able to get social the way that you intended to when you first decided to be a transfer student. And that's the only thing that it got to me really hard, because my first year that I had to live on campus, because they required me 2 semesters, I spent a lot of time either I was going to class, going to the dining hall, or in the gym. And when I wasn't doing one of those 3 things, I basically went back to my room and I would watch Netflix, I would watch YouTube, and I just stayed in my room and I didn't really eat anything. And I was also broke, so I didn't have a lot of money at this time. So I started losing weight, but it wasn't in a very healthy way, and I grew a very unhealthy relationship with food. So that by the time I left the dorms and I was moving off campus, that very unhealthy relationship that we discovered after living in the dorms for a year and losing that weight but not in a healthy way, and felt like I was starving myself. When I moved out, the weight started to come back on, and I gained 50 pounds over the span of 3 years. And now we are going back to our motivational habits and our dedication habits and dialing in nutrition again, because now at 260 I'm trying to go back down to 200 and take charge of my life, because I haven't cared about my life due to like depression and my mental illness. Now that I'm single and I'm making choices for myself and trying to figure out who I am without other people like telling me what to do, and I'm doing it on my own. I'm making positive changes in my mental health, my physical health, and my financial health. I've paid down a lot of debt and saved money. My mental health, I'm meditating, I'm doing whatever I need to do to make sure that I'm okay. And physical, I'm working out regularly. Well, I'm working out on a regular basis, and I'm eating better. And I've already lost, I think, 4 pounds in like 2 weeks. So we are starting again. Not necessarily if you fail, you're doomed. It doesn't matter how many times you fail. You need to be able to get back up and try again, because you're the only person in this life who can make your choices for you. And honestly, I'm a firm believer in that. I thank you so much for listening to my story about weight loss and how I was able to triumph it, and then I failed, and then I came back, and now I'm working on it again. But I have grown to I've made personal progress, which I think is more valuable than what the number says on the scale. And I really think that's important, to really love yourself first, and then everything else will come together. Alright, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for my next episode, which will be posted on Thursday.